Hello, this video will be looking at using a TI-84 Plus calculator to find a linear regression equation. You may have been referred here from finding a quadratic or a cubic regression. They're all very similar except in the choice of regression. So we'll work through this example. We've got a data given below showing the amount of water drank by people who run to exercise. So it shows the kilometers this person ran and how much water they drank when they ran. So we've got 5 different people running 5 different distances and they all drank 5 different amounts of water. So in order to do the regression to determine the equation, and that's what a regression is, the word regression means to determine an equation that would best or most closely model the situation for which you have data. In order to do that, we need to type in our data first. So we go to the Stat button on the calculator, and we want the very first option, Stat Edit. In Edit, I'm going to take my first list of data, which is kilometers run, and I'm going to put that into L1. And I'm going to take my second list of data, the water that was drank, and I'm going to put that into L2. Be very careful at this stage that you don't make a mistake entering your data, as your equation that you get will turn out wrong, and all your following answers will also turn out wrong. It can be a very frustrating thing to happen on a test. So carefully type in list 1. I'm going to use right arrow to go over to list 2, and I'm going to put in the water drank. Just make sure when you're doing this that you're doing them in the same order. 1 should pair up with 0.25, 3 should pair up with 1.25. Once you've entered all the data in, take a second to just look at the data one more time and make absolutely sure that it exactly matches the data that you were given in the question. Okay. Once you're sure they match, you can head on to the next step. So we've already done step 1, enter our data into list 1 and list 2. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on a scatter plot of this data so we can just take a look and see what the data looks like. So we go second, stat plot on the calculator. Sorry, I missed the second button. Second, stat plot. Go to any of the 3 stat plots. I'll pick the first one. I'll just press enter to go into stat plot 1. And I'm going to turn it on by pressing enter while on is blinking. You can see our data is in list 1 and list 2. We don't need to change anything there. And the type selected is a scatter plot. So all you have to do is turn this on. When I graph it, I should see my 5 points, which I can see. You may want to adjust the window, however, just to match your data a little bit more closely, get a better look at your data. For example, we're not looking at anybody who ran any less than 1 kilometer. So I could put in 0 kilometers for my minimum kilometers run, because nobody can run less than 0. And for max, I could stay with 10, but I like to put in a y or an x max a little bit over my highest x value, so I'll put in 12. That just keeps the points of your scatter plot from sitting right at the edge of the calculator screen. For water drank, nobody is drinking less than 0 liters, so I'll put 0 in for my y min. And for y max, I'll go a little higher than 3.7, maybe I'll put in a 5. Again, these values aren't exact, you're just roughly trying to change your window so you can get a better look at your points. Now these points don't form a perfect line, but they do look linear in the sense that there's a clear trend in direction. Your teacher might tell you it's a linear regression, and then you would just do a linear regression, or you may have to determine that from the shape of the points. That will be up to the question you're doing. So we've turned on our stat plot, and we have adjusted our window, and we can see our 5 points nicely and clearly. Now we're going to perform the regression itself. So to do a regression, you press the Stat button, and then you want to go under Calc, so you press the right arrow, and then you go down to the type of regression you would like to do. In Applied 40S, you'll be looking at linear, quadratic, cubic, logarithmic, exponential, and sinusoidal regressions. For right now, we're just focused on linear regression. You may also notice in the menu there are 2 linear regression choices. If you're doing a linear regression, always pick the first choice, choice 4. So I'm going to press enter, and it gives me a little menu, and it says, where's your X data? It's already in L1, so that's good. Our Y data is in L2. I'm going to skip past frequency list. We don't have one. And here's a very important step. Under store reg EQ, this stands for regression equation, I want to take the equation the calculator gives me, I want to put it into Y1, so that when I check my graph again later, I can actually see the line of best fit on the graph. So under store reg EQ, I want to press vars. I'm going to right arrow over to yvars. I'm going to pick option 1 function by pressing enter. And you can pick any of these. I'll pick Y1 by pressing enter. I'll show you what that did in a minute. Then we go down to calculate and press enter. The regression completes. It shows you the general form of the equation and the values of A and B for your situation. So on your paper, you would write that equation down. You would write y equals, replace the A with the value of A, so you'd get 0.38x, and then B is negative 0.16, so you'd actually get minus 0.16. That is your regression equation, and you're done that step. Now the reason we put in y1 through all that vars business, if I press y equals again, you can see that equation has been pasted into y1, so when I press graph again, I can see that line of best fit. That line becomes important if you start asking questions expanding this data. For example, how much water might somebody drink if they ran 20 kilometers? We don't get into that detail in this video, but it is important to have that line to answer those other questions. And that's how you perform a linear regression. Thanks for watching.